Thank you for joining us today on Real Voices. We appreciate you being here, where we try to bring you just real estate agents who are here in Phoenix and get so that you can get to know them just a little bit better. Today we have Casandra Douglas here with us today. Casandra, how are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Wonderful.
How are you?
Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, so my name is Casandra Douglas, and I am a realtor, but before that, I was in the military for 21 years. So I retired in 2018, and just enjoying life, enjoying retirement, but yeah, and enjoying realtor life now, so.
Awesome. Well, tell me, what made you make the switch from the military over to real estate? What was the kicker there?
So I had a really good realtor in Charleston, South Carolina. I used her for two home purchases. And she also retired from the military. And I really looked up to her because, you know, she was always about women empowerment and, you know, all this stuff. And I was like, you know what? I think I should do real estate. And people has always told me I should do home interior also, because I do like to decorate and do little home projects. So I thought real estate and home interior would kind of go hand in hand. So, yep.
Okay. So as a military woman, what was that like for you coming up in the ranks? What was it like day to day? How was that?
For me, it wasn't bad. So the military was not bad. I was in the Air Force. So, of course, the best branch, you know. But it wasn't that hard, but there were hard times. Almost half of my career, I was a single parent to two boys. So the hard parts were when I had to deploy and leave them. You know, that was the hardest thing. But other than that, I enjoyed it.
Okay.
You know, it was fun.
What are some of the places you had to deploy to and leave them behind?
So I went to Kuwait twice. I did Qatar and Iraq. And I went to Korea twice for 1 year tours. So
The Kuwait tour, was that Desert Storm's time frame or?
So my first time in Kuwait was in, I want to say 99.
Okay.
And that one was pretty short. My second time was like in 2002 to 2003. So I was there when Iraq War kicked off. So we got extended for another 3 months. So, but yeah, I was there when all that happened.
What was your role? What were you doing?
So I was an administrator for the wing commander. So that's the guy that's over the entire base. Okay. So we were like his, you know, administrators.
Okay. Tell me, I mean, I was thinking about, I did VA loans for a while, and speaking with vets who were dealing with things that were going on over there at the time. But I ran into someone who, she gotten out of the military and went back over there. She's like, because I'm making a ton of money. She was just watching over prisoners making, I don't know, 6 figures, just doing that. What was that like for you over there? Did you think of doing something like that yourself, or?
After I got out?
Yeah.
No.
When you were in, were you thinking about it?
No. I've never thought of that. Okay. But my husband, so he retired the same year I did. So he went to Afghanistan after we moved here as a civilian.
Okay.
For 6 months. So a lot of people do it because one, it's easier to get hired because of your previous experience. And then 2, you do make a lot of money.
Makes sense.
You know.
Makes sense. Okay. Well, what was, in earning money, what was one of the most unique ways you've ever gone about earning a couple of dollars?
So while I was in Kuwait, we have what we call the base exchange. So in Kuwait, we had like a really small one on the base where I was.
Okay.
Tiny. So I would do that as to make extra money while I was deployed, because not a lot of people volunteered to work at the base exchange. Okay. So that's something that I always thought, you know, I was active duty, but I was still, you know, working. Right, okay. Right.
So what did they do at the exchange? What would go on there? What's that?
It's just like a store. Okay. It's just a store. You get, you know, toiletries, just little things that you would need while you're there. It wasn't big at all. It was probably the size of this room or a little bit bigger.
Okay. Were you able to learn the language, or how did you communicate, I guess, with with the locals over there? What was that like?
So we didn't, I didn't have much interaction with the locals while I was there. Usually the higher ups usually have more communication with the locals. Like my wing commander, of course, he would talk to the commander of the Kuwaiti army there. So I didn't have much interaction with them.
Okay, I get that. So, in coming to Arizona, it sounds like you've been all with the Air Force. You've been all over the place. Why here? Why Phoenix?
So Arizona wasn't like, yay, I want to move to Arizona. So I retired in Virginia, but my two sons was already here in Arizona with their dad, and he's also retired military. So he stated that he wasn't moving once he retired. So I was like, well, I could move to Arizona, you know, because I didn't have anything in Virginia really stopping me from moving. So decided to move, and here I am.
So you mentioned I've spoken with you a little bit with your husband and your ex, the relationship that you guys have there. Mm-hmm. Tell me a little bit about that. How does that work with having your ex and then your husband and the kids involved? How do you guys manage that?
So I love talking about this because I know it's not normal, right? And a lot of people, they always look like, what? Like, you do what? So me and my ex-husband, we've always been really, we've always had really good communication, even when we got divorced, you know. We've never really had like this strenuous relationship. I think because for us, our kids always was our first priority, no matter what. So when I met my husband, at first it was a little difficult because he didn't understand the dynamic with me and my ex-husband. But once he got to meet him, and I think our first outing was at a Auburn football game. You know, my ex was like, hey, you know, we should all go. So we did, and I think after that, my husband was like, okay, everything is cool, you know. So now he'll come by, we'll cook for Thanksgiving, eat, sit on the couch, talk, laugh. Like, it's not a big deal to us. But a lot of people on the outside are like, that's weird. It works. Like, I love it.
Yeah, when you told me about that in the beginning, I'm like, I wonder how that works, and you know, how do you guys manage that? And it sounds like it's just because of the kids. It's because.
Yeah, but my ex-husband is also a really laid-back person. Like, he doesn't like a lot of conflict. So he's a very amicable person also. So I'm kind of the same way. You know, I don't like a lot of drama. So that works for us. He was at the house, was it Monday? I think it was. Yeah. So he'll come if we need help doing something, if he needs help doing something, you know.
Okay. Tell me a little bit, I guess, about why you are searching for the people who you search for in your real estate niche. Who are they and why?
So I would like to focus on military clients. And part of it, of course, because, you know, I spent 21 years in the military, and I understand how stressful it is to move with the military. You know, a lot of times things change really fast with the military. You know, you may have so I originally had orders from Korea to Tucson that got changed to Langley. So you're always having to deal with, you know, changes. And once military members get here, they have around 10 to 20 days to find a house if they haven't already been looking. So I feel like, you know, I understand that, and I know me being prior that I understand all the language, the acronyms, you know, I get it. So, and I really just want to give back to military because I understand how frustrating it could be. One of my last job in the military was a first sergeant. So a first sergeant is really a position in the Air Force, and it's not a rank. So like the Army, first sergeant is an actual rank. Ours is just a position. And I was pretty much the person that, so you had the commander, and then you have me. And then you have the squadron. So I was a person that dealt with personnel issues, things like that. I was like a resource. So I feel like I could be the same thing in real estate for my military members.
Makes sense. Makes sense. I'm just wondering, as far as the misconceptions about the military, and I know I have my own. What is one of the main misconceptions people have, particularly the Air Force? What would that be?
That we don't do anything. So I'm sure you've heard, you always hear the joke, right? The chair force. That's what the other branches call us, right? But we always make fun of them because, we have the best lodging facilities, we have the best bases, and we always make fun. It's like, when you're ready to go home, you call the Air Force because we have the planes that you get on, right? Or during war, if they need a plane to come throw bombs, they call the Air Force. So, it is what it is. Everybody has their part that they play, but I think the Air Force is the best.
It's the bomb, huh? Oh, awesome. So in your upbringing, what was it that inspired you? What was there anything that you're like, yeah, that inspired me. That was a defining moment for me.
I have to think about that. So I think we spoke before, and I was born in the Caribbean, small island called Grenada. Grenada is part of American history, because you guys invaded in '83. I know I was scared. And it's funny because I always say, I remember when I heard the bombers come over the house, it was so loud that I got under the bed because it sounded like they were going to crash into the house, right? And I had my first MRE then. So I'm like, man, I must have really loved this MRE that now I want to join the military and eat more MREs, right? But joining the military, so I'm somebody that I don't think too deep into things. I just kind of do it. So I didn't tell my parents I was joining. I kind of just told them that I signed up. So that didn't go too well. But my cousin, he was talking about joining the Army. And he gave me a brochure and he's like, oh, take a look. So I looked into it, and originally I wanted to be a nurse. So that's part of the reason I joined, because, they will pay for you to go to nursing school. So that was the main reason. But I didn't really have necessarily an inspiration, because honestly, I didn't know anything about the military when I joined. I had no idea what I was getting into. But I feel like that's kind of how I live my life a little bit.
Understood.
I kind of just do it.
Tell me a little bit about that day, that night when you heard the bombers coming over. What was going on? What happened shortly thereafter? What?
So I think it was like a coup. I was trying to overthrow the government that was there, and the U.S. came in to save the American students that were there, because there's a big medical university in Grenada that actually a lot of American doctors go to. So I guess they came to rescue the students. That's what was said. I don't really believe it, but, But I remember that morning when we woke up, I forgot what you call the plane, the one that circles the area constantly. It's kind of like we call it a spy plane. Yeah, that was the first thing we saw. And then, the planes. And then I remember when things kind of settled down, walking up to the hill and seeing the Army guys sitting around, and, so the only scary part for me was the planes, because it was so loud. Jets are really loud. And if you're not used to hearing that noise, it's like, right. What's going on?
Right, totally. It's I had that experience as an adult. Grew up around all these things, but living in Oregon for a bit, there aren't any bases around. And one day we had some jets come through. I'm like, it was just this instant, what is going on? Because they're not around. So
right.
I was like, something's wrong. But so I can imagine what that would have been like for a kid.
Especially on an island.
Right. Yeah.
Like the house actually shook when they flew over.
It's crazy.
Yeah, so.
That's power right there. Power.
Yep.
Okay. So question that I try and ask everybody when they come in is something that they would like to redo, if there's anything. What would you redo in your life? Is there anything?
I really believe that everything happens for a reason. So I don't really think of my life of like redoing things. Because I feel like that's what defines us, right? If this didn't happen, then you wouldn't be this person. So I don't really live my life like that. And something that I always think about, so I didn't grow up with my biological mother. You know, I got adopted, you know, it's a whole long story. But I don't hold on to that. I actually talk to my biological mom like almost every week, you know. And I think it's great because I don't think of like, well, she didn't raise me, you know, she didn't want me. I don't ever think like that because I don't want to, that's negativity. I don't want to live there. Right. So me having a relationship with her, actually, I see where I got certain things from because we're so much alike, right? So yeah, I don't really think of redoing things because I notice if I ever get in that space, it's just so negative.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I can appreciate that. Well, what are you most proud of then? You don't want to redo anything with your life. What is it that you're most proud of?
I would say retiring from the military. Okay. So I feel, and I told my friend this week, I feel more proud now that I retired than when I was serving.
Why is that?
I think because, okay, when you're in the military, you just go, right? You don't get to think of anything. And then when you retire, it's like, you're like, wow, like I actually did this, right? So everything kind of comes back, and then you really realize the accomplishment that you did. Because I don't know if you know, but like 1% of the population serves in the military. Yeah, I know. So that's really a big thing to actually retire. So yeah, that's
part of a small club, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Indeed.
Well, if before it's all said and done, and you know it's all over for you, what is something that you want and must accomplish?
Right now, you know, I think I'm going through this thing in my life that I literally think every day, like if I died tomorrow, how would I want to live today? Okay. So I don't really have anything that I'm like, yes, I have to do this. Like I said, I kind of live my life like I just do things. You know, I try not to think too much about stuff.
Okay. I can appreciate that. Yeah, we're all here we're trying to get to ideas of what makes people tick, and you know everyone's success is different for everybody, and just trying to figure out what's that look like for you.
I mean, I have things that I would like to do, but if it doesn't get accomplished, I'm not gonna be like, oh my God, it's the end of the world, right? And I spoke to you before about maybe eventually start having like a women's conference, like, you know, the lady I admire, she does. And just sharing my story, especially about the relationship I have with my ex-husband. Like, I would really like for more women or just families to know that it's okay. It's okay to have loved somebody and you moved on from that, you know? Yeah. And there's nothing there. You know, we still love each other in a friendship way, and we always want to see each other do the best. Like, you know, he wants to see me prosper. I want to see him prosper. And I mean, we talked like 2 days ago. He's like, oh, you want to hook me up with this person? And I'm like, no, you're not the marrying type. And then, you know, we just laugh about it. But, you know, that's, right. Yeah. So
I appreciate that. That's a great thought. Just being you, doing you, and it is okay. We're all different, so thank you. Tell us about the book that you thought of and that you wanted to talk about today. What's your favorite book?
So I don't really have like a favorite book. So I only read to gain knowledge. I'm not one of these avid readers that read fiction, and I just want to read and learn something. So the first book that came to my mind when you asked me was The Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey. Okay. So I've read this book twice already. I bought the hardcover, gave it to my mom. But that book really changed the way I see, you know, money, the way I looked at money. That totally changed. After
Where did
I
it come
read
from to what? What was it before?
So before, I mean, I think I've always been decent with money, but I didn't really know all the ins and outs of money. So for example, like our thrift savings plan through the military, where you kind of put money for your retirement. There's different funds, and I never really knew how to put, 10% here, there. But after I read the book, like I literally went in and changed it to what he said. So, but yeah, and I just started really paying attention to my spending habits. I paid off my car like in a year and a half. I just really, so whenever I start getting, like I'm spending and I'm like, oh my God, like I'll start listening to his podcast again, or I may read the book again to kind of get me back on track.
Okay, so it's this ongoing fight with becoming.
Yeah, so I love Dave Ramsey, but I don't follow him like to the T. I don't do like the envelopes and, because I feel like you still need to live, but still know how to manage your money. So, but I mean, he has some really good points.
Like that. I love what Jim Rome had to say about that. He's like, study all those things, but be a student, not a follower. Like pick up what you want and move on with that. Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate you being here with us. I really enjoyed our time.
Thank you.
Look
for
forward
having
to
me.
speaking with you again.
Yes,
Thank you.
This is fun.